and it's easier to kind of explain and tie your customers into that, I think, oftentimes. That's the first thing, is that you have to make it a scholarship focus when you're booking up the appointments, okay? Typically, when you guys are calling recommendations, and I know not everyone's been taught how to call recommendations yet, but you're calling them and saying, hey, Miss Jones, I'm working on a scholarship for school. I would be sharing the national scholarship standings as a student. Again, Jeff already shared them earlier, but the top 50 students in the company every single year are going to win a scholarship. And that's something that you can share that you're working towards. Hey, Ms. Jones, I'm working on a scholarship for school. Every single appointment that I get gets me a little bit closer to that goal. So I want to know if there's any way you could help me out. Could you squeeze me in that blank or blank? And it starts from the moment that you pick up the phone, right? It should be scholarship appointment. You get there and you're talking about a scholarship that you're working towards. And I'd have scholarship standings and scholarship goals. That's the first thing, number one. Second thing, okay, I'm going to give you guys some goods. If you've ever been to an SLDM, this is going to be familiar to you, okay? Now, by the way, before I do this, anytime that you're seeing something, because there's different people on this call. There's some people that y'all literally just started the job this weekend. So I'm about to show you is going to be like a lot. It's going to kind of blow your face off. Some of y'all have kind of seen this once or before, and this is going to be a really good reminder. Some of you all have already seen this 2 or 3 times. If you are in that boat, okay, the question that you should be asking yourself is not, have I seen this before? The question you should be asking yourself is, am I doing this? Right? Not, have I seen this? It's, hey, am I doing this right now? Right? And if not, why not? Right? So, and I'm going to give it to you all. By the way, little plug, if you're a part of the Alliance, tomorrow morning, even if you're actually honestly just a candidate for it, we're going to invite you to a meeting tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 10:30. And myself and Jeff are going to actually go through and just give you guys something called the advanced demo. It's kind of, we're going to give you essentially a new manual to be able to follow. And it's just got this, it's going to already have the stuff that I'm teaching today implemented into it. But this is going to be a good precursor for that. If you're on the Alliance, and if you're on Alliance, this is going to be a good kind of just walkthrough of what you need to be doing here. So first things first, okay? Look, the first thing about advanced rapport building is well, you got to build rapport. So you got to build a relationship up with the customers. Remember, when you're building rapport, guys, it's 80% about them, 20% about you. The more questions that you ask, the better. I love something Eddie always says is just, hey, have the phrase, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. Okay. The more that you can ask the customers, the more that you're asking about them. Like, you literally want them to make it think like appointments about them and not you. Right? Like, if you're just talking about yourself the entire time, that's not really good rapport building. It might be good goal sharing, but you ideally have already been digging in and asking a lot of questions to the customers, for 15 minutes before you ever start sharing your goals, and ideally, again, it's kind of like, again, the example is a first date. If you're really just asking a ton of questions, eventually, at a certain point, they just start to be really curious about you. Wait, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, what are you doing? What is all this? Okay. That's what you want. You want them like asking you versus like, all right, can we start the presentation? Like, yeah, that stuff's great. What do you want to show me? Okay. If you've ever gotten one of those before, but a lot of times it's because you didn't do that. You didn't create that first for them. You've got to be the one that's asking questions first. You've got to kind of break the ice sometimes. Food, friends, family, kids. Moms typically like to talk about 2 things, themselves and their kids. So I'd ask a lot of questions about those. Okay. And I'd be digging in and really, like, again, the more questions you ask about them, the better. I'd also ask the second and third questions, meaning ask the second and third questions. So when someone has one question, right, and they say, hey, like, well, what do you do for a living? Cool. Rather than just like, oh, I'm an engineer. Nice. Cool. Well, how about your wife? No, or how about your husband? You want to ask the second and third questions. How long have you been doing that for? Nice. What got you into that? Is that what you studied in college? How do you like your job? What's the best part about your job? What's the worst part about your job? Right? And another big thing, I would just dig in and ask the second and third questions. Another good rapport building tip for you guys is just kind of like asking for advice. Asking for advice. If you're like earlier on in your presentation being like, hey, look, so, here's where I'm at right now. I'm thinking about doing this. This is what I'm passionate about. This is what I want to study for. This is what I'm doing. When you were my age, did you have these types of goals? Right? When you were my age, did you blank? When you were my age, did you want to do this? When you were my age, what kind of goals did you have? Right? Asking questions about that, and then asking like, hey, like, well, and what would you recommend? Like, if your son or daughter was my age, like, what would you tell them? You know, what's the best piece of advice that you can give somebody? The more questions that you're asking, guys, I think just the better off you're going to be, because it shows, number one, that you care, and customers don't know, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. So you're actually showing that you're interested in the other person, right? And interested in getting to know them. And they're going to do the exact same in return for you. And it's a lot easier to share your goals passionately, to talk about what you're working towards, when your customers actually seem like they're interested in finding out. Okay. Versus when they're like, you're sharing it, but they don't really want to hear it. So you kind of got to break the ice with them first. Second thing you're going to do, okay, is after you've built some rapport, and this is step 2. So step 1, advanced rapport building, talk about scholarship everywhere in your appointment. Step 2, okay, we call this the opening, the advanced opening. Okay, I'm going to teach you guys a little bit of some advanced lines here in a second, but this is the advanced opening. And some of y'all have already seen this before if you've gone to an SLDM, so I hope this is not new to you. But the first thing that you're going to go ahead and do before I even start my presentation, and I'll go ahead and pull up, let's see here, Google, so we can do this. Okay, so if I'm going to my presentation, right, all I'm going to go ahead and do is let me pull up yourcutcodemo.com. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do when I'm pulling this up is I'm actually going to start sharing my screen. And I like to kind of like almost cut the customer off while we're talking. Honestly, do agree. I would say, all right, Ms. Jones, so I'm going to go ahead and get started real quickly. Can you see my screen? All right, great. So I'll start talking. So almost like start doing the presentation. And I'll stop and go, you know what, Ms. Jones? Before I even get started today, I really just want to take a quick second just to say thank you. You know, I know, you know, you look, this might not seem like a big deal to you, you know, but it is a big deal to me. I know it's only an hour's worth of your time, but I'm working so hard on this competition right now, Ms. Jones. I called 1 million people last week, and honestly, a bunch of people were rude to me. You were so nice on the phone. You're my favorite godmother, Ms. Jones. You're my whatever. You want to genuinely thank them. And I really am grateful, Ms. Jones, that you're taking out the time to see me today. Now, by the way, I'm going to show you a product called Cutco today. Have you ever heard of it before? Oh, you have, Ms. Jones? Okay, so you know how awesome it is and why everyone, you know, I've been showing to is investing at least a set of this stuff, Ms. Jones. And by the way, you know, look, I'm not, you know, a knife salesperson. Actually, Ms. Jones, the reason why I started working with Cutco is because I found it was really a good opportunity for me to separate myself from some of the rest of my peer group, you know, within Cutco. And this summer, you know, one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because next year when I want to go to law school, I realized that, you know, my communication ability, my ability to interview and speak with adults twice my age, these are all skills that I'm going to need to work on, need to develop. And it's a really good way to, I think, just both develop my resume and my communication skills. And, you know, on that note, Ms. Jones, do you mind if I share some of my goals with you? You're sure you don't mind? All right, awesome, Ms. Jones. Well, I'm glad that you said that because right now I'm working really, really hard on some of my goals. In fact, Ms. Jones, and boom, I can go ahead and transition to goals. So here's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I'm going to give you guys, by the way, I'm going to give you all a keynote that you can use and you can edit to share your goals. But what I just did there, by the way, was not magic. By the way, actually, real quickly, raise your hand if that's a lot smoother than what you typically do to start your presentations. Okay. And by the way, I see a couple of y'all raising your hand. Maybe you're just raising your hand to be nice. But some of y'all are raising your hand, and I've already taught this to you before. Okay. So again, if that was you, the question you want to be asked is, am I doing this right now? So I'm giving you all the goods. This is it. You build rapport with the customers, and I would open the presentation and start it. Okay. This is the way to transition. You transition from rapport building to goal sharing. The transition is kind of what I'm teaching you guys, because that's usually what most people mess up. They don't have trouble sharing their goals. They don't have trouble building rapport. They have trouble like kind of getting started to build rapport with the presentation. They have trouble going from building rapport to actually doing the presentation and sharing your goals. So I start off with the open and close, where I literally am going to open the presentation, right? When I open up the keynote, when I start the presentation, when I pull up, you know, this page, that represents business. Okay, that represents, hey, I'm trying to sell you something now. I'm now in the middle of doing my presentation. Right? When I stop screen share and I'm just looking at me, right? It represents, it's more personal connection. It's relationship. So I'm literally going to open up the presentation and I'm going to start it and say, hey, Ms. Jones, well, let's go ahead and get started. And actually, you know what? Go ahead and close it down. Before I do that, could I just take a quick second to say thank you? By the way, you'll notice thank you is not scripted because you shouldn't have to script out thanking your customer. You should just genuinely thank them for whatever it is about them or about them doing the appointment that you're grateful for or thankful for. And then you're going to say, hey, Miss Jones, and this is already in your manual. You guys already say this. Miss Jones, I'm going to show you how a product called Cutco. Have you ever heard of it before? Right? Miss Jones, today I'm going to show you a product called Cutco. Have you ever heard of it? And it doesn't matter what they respond, guys. It doesn't matter if they've heard of it or if they haven't heard of it. What matters is your response. How you respond to whether or not they've heard of it or not is what matters the most. And you'll see at the very beginning of the presentation, you have opportunities to do things that you want in your presentation. Meaning, I have opportunities to already get the customer in the mindset of sets. I sell sets of Cutco. I have the opportunity to get the customer in the mindset of expensive, expensive, expensive. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. So, they say, oh, no, Andrew, I've never heard of Cutco. It's like, oh, yeah, Miss Jones. Like, well, Cutco is the bomb. This stuff is awesome. And honestly, I can't wait to show it to you and why, like, everyone I know has been investing in at least a set, right? Oh, you've heard of Cutco Miss Jones before. Perfect. So you know how awesome it is and why everyone I've been shown is investing in at least a set. Remember, guys, enthusiasm is the key to selling your customers without using any pressure at all. So your enthusiasm, like customers can feel what you believe a lot more than they believe what you say. You can't just get excited in the middle of the presentation and your customers are going to think you're excited about Cutco. The moment they hear the words Cutco come out of your mouth, the moment you start talking about the product is the moment where the customer begins to form their impression of how they should think about the product and how they should think about Cutco. So you set the tone at the very beginning of your presentation on how the customer should be thinking or feeling or what they should be expecting about the presentation and how you're going to feel about Cutco in the actual presentation. So start off there, right? We do the open and close. Hey, Ms. Jones, have you ever heard of Cutco before? And then the next thing you say is, hey, I'm not a knife salesperson. I'm not a knife salesman. Look, actually, Ms. Jones, the reason why I started working with Cutco is blank. And you say this because this way, all right? Sometimes you'll get, some friends and family, and not even friends and family, just anyone, really. And you're doing the presentation, and it's kind of cool. I remember I was talking to Christina the other day, and we're talking about how it's funny that it's always the same presentation, but the more appointments that you do, the better off that you get. And also the more you realize you don't even know because you do the same presentation every time, but every single customer is different. Some of them you got on and they're already excited to see you before you even get on there. You're like, hell yeah, it's going to be great. And other times they get on there like, hey, yep. So what is this? Just go ahead and start, show me. No, I'm good. Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see the presentation. Okay. And it's like, how do you break the ice with those customers? How do you actually get started, build some rapport, build connection, build enthusiasm with them? Part of it, I think, is just kind of it's addressing the elephant in the room, which sometimes the elephant in the room is like, look, there's a 19-year-old kid trying to sell me knives right now. It's kind of funny, like to be honest, a lot of customers, it's like, all right, there's I'm on a Zoom call right now with some 19-year-old, 17-year-old, 20-year-old, and they're showing me knives. Okay. They're selling me knives right now. What am I getting myself into? So, when you're getting started with a presentation, just telling them like, look, and by the way, like, I'm not just like a knife salesperson. And this is good if they're a brand new customer and you don't know them and you're building a relationship with them, or if it's someone that they're giving you kind of like one of these looks before you start the presentation, like, Josie, what is it? Like, what is this? Like, what'd you get hoodwinked into doing? Like, what is this presentation you're about to show me? Okay. Y'all ever gotten one of those looks before when you're starting the presentation? Okay. So, look, this kind of helps break that ice and address any elephants in the room and say, hey, look, Ms. Jones, by the way, like, I'm not a knife salesperson. Actually, the reason why I'm working with Cutco is, XYZ, short little sub speech, 2 or 3 sentences on kind of why you're doing what you're doing. In fact, Ms. Jones, do you mind if I share, some of my goals with you? And that's the next step. So, and I would take a photo of this if you haven't done so already. You probably take it on your phone. Hopefully you're writing this down and taking some notes. Scholarship's number 1. Make it scholarship focus. Everything scholarship. Hey, my scholarship goal is this. My scholarship appointment, my scholarship demo. I'm working towards a scholarship. Point number 2 is nailing the transition. Nailing the transition between rapport building and sharing your actual goals. How do you go from talking and just kind of getting to know them without like just cutting the customer off and trying to start the presentation, getting a nice smooth transition that shows gratitude for the customer, builds excitement and enthusiasm for the Cutco products, addresses the elephants in the room of like why you're doing what you're doing and the fact that you're selling knives. Okay. And allows them to be engaged and before you actually tell them about the goal sharing process. So you're not just talking at them. Third key that we'll give you is this. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to present goals. So let's talk about what goals are you actually sharing. Okay. Before you all start getting ahead and reading this stuff. Okay. First, I want you to just be focused on what's up here. Okay. Goals. I would be talking about, if I'm on my fast start, I'm talking about my fast start goals. President's Club. Okay. All-American Scholarship. President's Club, by the way, is an easy talking point in a lot of your appointments that I'd be talking about. If you haven't hit 10 grand in sales, I'd be talking about every that. Hey, Ms. Jones, this is an opportunity to improve my resume. You know, if I sell $10,000 this summer, I'm going to get a handwritten letter of recommendation from the CEO of our company, you know, which Ms. Jones, could you imagine what that would look like on a resume when I can say, you know, I was going to my freshman year in college and I have a letter recommendation, you know, for the CEO of a $250 million marketing firm, you know, testing to my high degree of level of success in my time and tenure with the company. All-American Scholarship, standings, how you're pacing, what your goal is for the summer. TLA, like you have any personal long-term goals. Cutco Collegiate Track, like, hey, I want to become a branch manager, assistant manager, you know, and you want to talk about, again, as many goals as you really can in your appointment. And you want to, again, tie your customers into your goals. So here's the last thing that I'll give on the advanced rapport building. Actually, I'm going to come back to, I'll come back to the actual verbiage here before I do this. So this is what you guys are going to go ahead and receive today. And managers, I'll go ahead and have people send this out. If y'all could, let me go ahead and send this to you all. Okay, if you go to bit.ly/goal sharing, managers, I'll go ahead and send this out into the chat so you guys can facilitate it to your respective teams. Okay, but all of you are going to have access to the same keynote that I'm about to share with you. Managers, go ahead and send that to them after the talk, by the way. Maybe don't send it to it quite yet. But you want to have, this is going to make things really easy for you. Okay. A lot of y'all have been hearing this for weeks, for some of y'all months. Hey, make a visual. You got to make sure you have some sort of visual for your customers to see while you're sharing goals. Well, the good thing is that we took the liberty and just made the visual for you, you know, made it a lot easier. And all you have to do is just edit it. Okay. So what you can actually do is you guys are all going to get the exact same keynote that I have right here. This is not going to be distributed to every single person. This is just for people that are at the conference or event today. But it's 6 pages long. And it will just give you an opportunity to share your goals. So you're going to have to change up a little bit of this yourself. First page is the About Me page. Okay, so when you're saying, hey, Ms. Jones, well, let me tell you a little bit about me. You know, and you can even, by the way, if you wanted to, you could cue this up, you know, while, I don't know, while you're getting started with the presentation, like while you're kind of building rapport, when they start asking you some questions, be like, yeah, Ms. Jones, well, let me just actually tell you a little bit about me. Right. And then rather than sharing the keynote, like rather than going to this page and say, hey, Ms. Jones, do you mind if I get started? Actually go ahead and do this. I would just start by sharing this, right? And say, actually, Ms. Jones, you know what? Before I even go into my personal goals, let me just take a quick second to thank you for taking out your time to see me today. I really do appreciate it. Do you mind if I share some of my goals with you? Awesome. Well, yeah, one of the reasons why I actually started working with Cutco is blank, you know? So let me walk you all through how to do this. Actually, how about I do it for you live one time and then we can go from there. So I walk through my About Me, personal goals, okay, resume boosters, what I'm working towards like long-term. And then I'm going to show you guys how to get 4 goals. And then we're going to talk about our push goals here. So let me do the walkthrough and I'll do one for you guys live and we'll move over to recommendations here. So personal goals. Okay. Actually, before I get that, About Me, I would put a photo of your school. Okay. Pretty easy. By the way, this is obviously not me. This is actually Kathy Vasquez. She's the division manager, one of them out in Texas, originally from Miami. Well, not actually from Miami, but so I'd put a photo of your school. You know, if I'm a pre-med student, maybe I put a photo of a doctor here, like the medicine symbol, right? I'll put a little bit of maybe, you know, if I'm, you know, Puerto Rican originally, I'll put like maybe a photo there, right? Where I'm from, you know, if I have a sports team or something like that, I like to connect with. So I'll put a little bit about me, right? Any travel that I like to do. People love to travel. People either like to talk about travel, they wish they would travel, or they do travel, which is a great chance to talk to people about. So photos of maybe different places that you've gone, things like that you've done. I'd have photos of you and your family. Again, don't make it all about you. Make it like you and photos of some people, some just by you by yourself. Some photos you want to be you and the rest of your family. If you have a photo with your team, maybe you had a team night out, that could be good. And you put those in the About Me section. Personal goals. I would just put this up with photos of anything. So all you'll need to take like 20, 30 minutes and adjust this. It's pretty easy to do. It's just a keynote presentation. And you'll be able to do that. You can put, number one, you could have something about financial freedom. You could put maybe your dream job, okay, of like what you want to do. I'd put maybe some photos of like your major in words of like what you're studying in school. You could even put about maybe what your parents do or things like that. If you have some sort of like long-term goals, right? And some of y'all, by the way, there's like 20 photos on here. To be honest, maybe some of y'all, this is like 3 photos, you know, you're shorting this down just like 3 or 4 photos that you feel good about. Some of y'all, you know, you're going to want to splatter it. It's almost like a vision board, and you can talk about, you know, what your visions are and what you're excited about for the future. You know, but after that, this is when you get into the good stuff. You have resume boosters here. And then you talk about my goals. There's 4 goals that I teach all of our people to share. 4 goals. And every single one of y'all, it's if you don't know what your goals are, this is a very, very easy framework for you to kind of just change and adjust your goals. Number 1, push goal. You always have a sales goal. Okay. And I don't, the push hasn't started yet. You still should have a sales goal. Okay. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what time of year it is. You are always in the biggest competition of the entire year. Okay. When I was doing an appointment, I was always in the biggest competition of my entire year. I know Jonathan Castell, you know, the branch manager for Doral. He used to go out and sell, you know, 7-8 grand on a day, you know, last summer. And he would go out and he would have daily sales goals. Like, hey, Miss Jones, I'm trying to have my first ever $10,000 day. You know, today my day is to sell $10,000. Okay. Hey, Miss Jones, my goal for my first 10 days is to sell $10,000. My goal for this week is to have my best week ever. I need to beat my previous week of $3,500. Miss Jones, my goal for this, it doesn't matter what it is. You've got to have some sort of sales goal. I sat down with an assistant manager the other day that was telling me that they were sharing all their goals in all their appointments. And they're like, oh, I don't have a sales goal. It's like, what? What goals are you sharing then? You know, so it's not enough to just, hey, talking about, yeah, I want to be a doctor and blah, blah, blah. The idea of tying your customers into your goals is different than just sharing your goals. When you tie your customers into your goals, you're tying them in, meaning like you're saying, hey, these are the goals. These are my long-term goals. And this is how you can help me out today, right? This is all the stuff that I'm working towards. And here's why this matters. Here's why I'm doing an appointment with you today. My goal is to sell $10,000, Ms. Jones. And quite honestly, anything that you do, anything that you get today is going to help me get a little bit closer towards that goal. If I sell $10,000 for the SE2 push, I'm going to be able to get myself a TLA interview. You know, if I get a TLA interview, it's going to give me an opportunity to potentially run my own branch office next summer. And that's what I'm passionate about. So you might be talking about branch, but you got to bring it back down to like, hey, how can they help you with your goals? Don't just share your goals. Hey, Ms. Jones, look, I got goals. Cool. You know, but how can they help you with their goals? That's the first thing. And the customers have 2 ways to help you with their goals. Do they not? They can buy something from you. They can recommend you to people. Those are the 2 ways that they're helping you with their goals. If they're not doing one of those 2 things, they ain't really helping you towards your goals. So those are the 2 things. You're sharing your long-term goals and then pulling it back to the short-term. So here's everyone's goal, by the way. Everyone, congratulations. This is one of your goals. Okay, everyone now has a goal of getting introduced to 1,000 customers or more during the summertime. That's one of your goals. You want to make sure recommendations, which is what I'm about to talk about in a second, is one of your goals that you already have built into it. You know, that my long-term goal is to be a Cutco, you know, as a branch manager. So I would have a long-term Cutco goal, be an AMI, get promoted to assistant manager, branch manager, district manager. Hey, win President's Club, you know, get into TLA, be a top performer for the summertime, be number 10 in my office. It doesn't matter what it is. Just make sure you have some sort of long-term Cutco goal and then some long-term non-Cutco goal. You know, hey, Ms. Jones, I want to be a 5-star math, science, and engineering student when I graduate. Hey, I want to get into, you know, Cornell for law school. You know, I want to get into, you know, some sort of long-term goal that you can share with your customers that you can tie them in. So again, about me, personal goals. Can you show some of the resume boosters, talk about the scholarship. Okay. And then I have my push goals here. So I would put sales goal and demo goals. So it also let the customers know, like, hey, Ms. Jones, like my goal is to sell $20,000. I'm just focused on completing 50 demos. You know, I know that if I do 50 appointments, Ms. Jones, I'm going to hit my $20,000 goal. So, you know, if you want to stroke me a check today for $20,000 and just help me hit it, then you can definitely go ahead and do that. I won't stop you. Ms. Jones. But what I'm really focused on is just getting as many appointments as possible, which is why, it'd mean the world to me if you're able to recommend me to some friends at the end of the appointment, because every single demo that I get, if I can just get 50 demos booked up during the next 2.5 weeks, I will hit this goal, and be able to speak with that confidence there too. So check this out, guys. You'll be able to adjust your push goal here. So I can change, whatever my goals are for the push, and I can also just adjust this thermometer as I'm pacing towards it. Y'all see that? Okay, so I can show my customers that, oh, cool, I hit my goal. And I would be kind of pacing along as you're going through and doing your appointments, and you can share with them whatever your goals actually are. The last thing that I have included on here, okay, guys, is the automatic sponsorship. Automatic sponsorship. This is something that you got to talk about on every single appointment at the beginning of the appointment. You don't even have to say much. You can just say, hey, Miss Jones, by the way, look, there's a free way to help me today. Like if you want to go ahead and buy my entire book, you can definitely do that. I don't expect you to. I don't need you to. But I also want to let you know too that like if you're excited about helping me out towards any of these goals, you can help me out today completely for free without buying anything today. You can actually sponsor me at the end of the presentation, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later, and it would really mean the world to me if you did. Okay, so everyone's going to go ahead and get this keynote. Managers, if you didn't do it already, I'd go ahead and send this out. Okay, so everybody has access to this. Okay, for time-wise, I'll do it for you guys one time. If you want to take a photo of this, you can. I'll just do it for you one time. I'm not going to explain it much just because I need to get the recommendations here. And if you're on the Alliance, you're going to get the goods, and you're going to know how to do this every single time. So one thing that I'd say is, it's like, hey, Ms. Jones, like I said on the phone, you don't have to get anything today, but if you do see something that you like, you can get today. Not only should you be getting a great product, you'd be helping me out as well. That's what you usually say. Here's the advanced script. And this is a good way to just build up price expectations, build up, selling bigger orders and selling bigger sets. You say, hey, Ms. Jones, well, like I said on the phone, you don't have to get anything today, but if you do see something that you like, whether that's stocking your entire kitchen, buying all the gifts for your holiday season, or just getting a small set today, get started, please do go ahead and get it today because you'd definitely be helping me out towards my goals. And with that being said, Ms. Jones, I want to let you know, Cutco, it's not a pity sale. I definitely did not sign up to do pity sales. In fact, Cutco is way too expensive to buy just to be nice. So please don't feel like you have to get anything today. But I am going to warn you, a lot of people are buying this stuff right now. Ms. Jones, and I'll go ahead and show them one of my biggest sales orders and biggest sales paychecks. If you're a part of the Alliance, we're going to teach you how to do this, right? And then you can say, hey, Ms. Jones, so you can see like a ton of people are buying right now. And by the way, the reasons that they are, it's not because they have, $3,000 to $4,000 in an envelope, waiting to spend on my products when I come around. It's just because it so happens that we are in the company's biggest sales weeks and contests of the entire year, our SE2 push competition, Ms. Jones, that I was just telling you about earlier. And what that means is that I'm able to give discounts and deals that I'm not able to get ever. It's kind of like Black Friday, but in July. So by you helping me out today, Ms. Jones, or buying today, it does help me out towards my goals. Here's the deal. I can promise you by the time we're done, you'll agree with me that Cutco is one of the most intelligent investments you can possibly make. Okay. So that will be something that you can add into your sample kit repertoire. So 3 steps: scholarship, scholarship, scholarship. Smooth transition from rapport building to goal sharing. And then make sure that you have the visuals ready to rock and roll as you share your goals. Cool. And you have 4 goals: a sales goal or push goal, fast start goal, month goal, whatever goal, some sort of sales goal. I want to be introduced to 1,000 new customers. Long-term Cutco goal, long-term non-Cutco goal. Cool. And then always hit on the sponsorship there too. If you got this, this is a little bit of extra fire, for some of y'all. So
Andrew, can I chime in real quick? I just want to add a few. Okay. So I'm watching my phone. The group chat is blowing up right now. If you're on the Alliance, we're going to give you the updated presentation manual, right? So everything he just covered is already in there. You just have to read it. That's the advantage of being on the Alliance. A lot of you are scrambling to get these notes in, or what's that one line? If you're on the Alliance, you just read. Okay.
Yeah. We just keep
Second thing, and on the next workshop for the Alliance, we're going to cover a lot of the things he just said may or may not have hit the way, or hit differently, right? It may not have hit, but there are things like setting price expectation, creating options early that you may have seen or understood. Mrs. Jones, some people like to get their entire kitchen filled with pots, pans, forks, knives, spoons, the whole thing. Or some people just get a small starter set for themselves and some gifts for the holidays. So that's a line that will set price expectation later. Mrs. Jones, the reason so many people are buying is not because they just have $3,000 or $4,000 lying around, right? That's a price expectation phrase. And so for those of you that are excited to be on the Alliance, this will just already be organically, and not even organically. This will just be literally worked into your presentation. The biggest thing I want you to take from there is, how does he start his presentation and what's the feel versus maybe how some of us have when we're newer? Okay, so take 30 seconds, a few quick light bulbs from that. For many of you that haven't been, if you're brand new, the open and close, right? Open and close, thank them. I'm not a knife salesperson. Why I'm working with Cutco. That's just automatically oldie but goodie. But if you're new, it's a new phrase. If you're newer, it's a new technique. Take another 15 seconds. What are some light bulbs? What are some things that really helped you on that one? I see a lot of light bulbs. I see a lot of head nods. I see a lot of text message blowing up on the group chats. And if you notice, he also started talking about recommendations early. Right? If you've been to a sales leadership development meeting, this will transition Andrew here. One of the number one, if not the number one reason why people are hesitant or don't give any recommendations is because they're surprised and we catch them off guard. So what Andrew did there during his goal sharing, when it's the most intimate part of the presentation, when they're most connected, we bring up the fact that we're going to ask them for recommendations. Okay? So Andrew, I'll turn things over to you. With that being said, we're going to now cover how the advanced version of recommendations, okay? And again, watch how organized it is and literally read the script as always for this one. Okay, Andrew, you're up, my friend.
Awesome. All righty. Advanced recommendations. Hopefully you guys took away some value from that. Here's the deal. This is the most important thing I'm going to cover today. I don't know. I'll be careful to say that this is the most important thing you will all learn today, but I would venture that it is, and I think a lot of your managers would venture the exact same thing. Okay, look, when it comes to recommendations, and I know this is an important talk and message for a lot of y'all here, because I know there's some people on this call that you've been struggling with recommendations. Some of y'all have been crushing your sales, and you're still struggling with recommendations a little bit. And I think if there's one thing that you're going to choose to master over the next 2 weeks before the push starts, it's got to be recommendations. Okay, recommendations are the fuel to your fire. Look, this is the most important part about the job. If you want to be doing this long-term, you've got to get good at getting recommendations. You know, one of the best reps that I've ever had, Amy Rad, she sold $100,000 her first summer. She sold another $100,000 the second summer. By the way, you know, that push that we have coming up, SE2, she sold $40,000 her first summer on the job for the push. She sold $54,000 her second summer on the job for the same push in 2 weeks. So Amy, by the way, made like $25,000, you know, or so in 2 weeks, two summers in a row. Look, Amy's biggest sale during the push, Amy's biggest sale during her summer was $2,000. Her biggest sale, the whole summer, $2,000. Some of y'all have sold more than that, you know, on appointments. Like you sold $4,000 or $5,000 on a single appointment before. And that's cool, but that's not going to give you long-term success. You know, closing a big order here or there, it's not gonna be like the key to getting a 30K push. You know, you're not going to go out there and sell 15, 20, 30 grand if you're not good and really confident in your recommendation process. You know, if you're running out of people to call, that's a problem. That shouldn't be happening. In fact, your list of people that you have to call should always be expanding. You know, you should always be feeling like you have more and more and more people to call, and you should be getting more and more and more selective of who the people that you're actually going to go see are. Not less selective, and you just have to see whoever you get recommended to. You know, this is what impacts your push the most. This is what impacts your phone time the most. Look, the representatives, the people that suck at making phone calls, they usually suck at making phone calls because they don't have a lot of people to call. Because when you've only got, you know, 30, 40 people to call, then like every single time you call, you're like, oh, like you get so frustrated, right? Or annoyed if a customer, like, she said something mean to me, or she told me off, or no one's answering. It's like you made 4 phone calls, you know, like, what are you talking about? Like you already made 10 phone calls. Yeah. How do you know no one's answering? Like 9 out of 10 you usually don't even answer. But when you've only got 30 people to call, if you called 10 people, you called 30% of the only customers that you have, it sure probably does feel like no one's answering. You've only got 30 people to call. That's like, you just have 1/3 of your people gone. So, but you don't worry about that if you're actually getting recommendations. Okay. This impacts your phone. When you have a lot of people to call, when you got 250 people to call, you don't really give a shit. If someone's mean to you or doesn't answer the phone, you're like, cool, on to the next one. That one's gone. Who's next? Boom. Didn't answer? Cool. Who's next? Boom. Didn't answer? Cool. Who's next? You can't do that when you've got 50 people to call. You can when you have 200, 300, 400, 500. And so you want to be looking at, how do I make sure before the push starts, if you're on here right now and you're thinking about having a 20K push, you need to have 250 people on your queue before the push starts. Okay. If you have 250 people on queue, I would bet money, as long as you work hard, you're going to have a 20K plus push. If you have less than people, if you have less than 150 on your attack list before the push starts, I don't mean this to personally offend you, but I would bet money that you will not have a 10K push, because quite frankly, it's like, you might want to work hard, but you don't have enough name. You don't have enough fuel to your fire, So the best reps, here's the most important thing for y'all to understand. The best reps don't sell the most. The best reps get the most recs. Okay.
Amen.
Best reps
Amen.
get the most recs.
Yep.
Okay, but it's true. The best reps are not the ones that have the biggest sales, the biggest orders. The best reps get the most recommendations. They get the most recs. Okay, so like a couple of things, guys. Number one, next 2 weeks, I wouldn't even care about sales. Where you want to build momentum, there's going to be a fire 4th of July contest we can announce here in a little bit. I still would go out with some sales intentions, but in my mind, if I want to make a lot of money this summer, if I want to have a big SE2 push, the only thing that matters is recommendations. I am laser focused on recommendations. Like, someone's like, I sold a complete set. Cool. Don't care. How many recommendations did you get? That's your only thing that you should be thinking about, is like, how many recommendations. Don't post sales updates in your chats anymore without recommendations. If you sold a homemaker, didn't get 10 recs, you probably shouldn't even post in your chat. You got to be making sure that you're getting 10 recommendations or more on every single appointment. And I'm going to give you guys the goods on really how to go out and get 30, 40, 50 or more recommendations on your actual appointments. Okay. The first thing is, you've got to have the right mentality. So, when it comes down to it, guys, and by the way, everything starts with mentality. Your expectations create your reality, for sales and for recommendations. Some of you all sell a lot and you never get recommendations. And why? Because you feel totally confident asking for the sales, and you feel really nervous and awkward when you ask for recommendations. And that's why you don't get a lot of them. It's all about and let me just say it this way, okay, guys? However you feel is how you are making your customer feel while you're asking. I want you to just think about that for a second. That's for closing and for recommendations. However you're feeling is what you're projecting onto your customer while you're asking. So if you ask in a sketchy way, your customers are going to feel how? Sketchy, right? If you feel like you're being manipulative, your customers are going to feel like you're being what? Manipulative. If you feel like you're being pushy, your customers are going to feel like you're what? Being pushy. Okay. If you feel like you're like, get a little bit nervous for the expectations, this is kind of weird, your customers are going to be like, I don't know, this is kind of weird. Okay. They're going to feel however you're feeling. You show up there and you're like, hey, Ms. Jones, yeah, like everyone gives me 20, 30 recommendations. I remember so I think about someone like Eddie de las Cuevas. Okay. He started his first time on the job. He would be pissed off if he got 10 he would literally be pissed if he got 10 recommendations in an appointment, because he got 20 or more on every appointment he ever did. 20 or more, usually 40. Jonathan Castell, he'd get 40, 50 recommendations every demo he would do last summer, and one time, one lady goes oh, I don't know, I don't really feel comfortable doing that. And then he just Jonathan just stared at her, and he's like, and she's like, sorry, is that, I'm so sorry. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. And she's like, well, is this normal? And she's like, no, honestly, you're the first person I've ever had say they wouldn't recommend me to people. And she's like, oh, well, I can give you at least a couple, it's but that's true. It's Jonathan's yeah, because I always get 10 recommendations. And here's the deal. If you haven't had that happen for you yet, you need to act as if. You need to play the part, okay? Until you've gone out there, until you've sold 5, 10 grand an appointment, you just need to act like you've sold 5 or 10 grand an appointment. Because when you show up to people that could buy that from you, they're like, oh, okay, cool. This is normal. Here's 5 grand. Oh, 10 grand is normal? Sure. Here's 10 grand. You know, oh, giving you 20 recommendations is normal? Sure, I'll give you 20 recs. Okay, the problem is that you guys make it feel like it's not normal. You know, the problem is that you make it feel like it's abnormal for customers to give you 10. And if you make it feel like it's abnormal, if you don't make it feel like, hey, every single person I sit down with, Ms. Jones, gives me recommendations. And 99.99% give me at least 10. Most of them are giving me 20 or 30. You know, but I can settle for 10 if you just want to only give me 10. That's the vibe and the energy that you need to be approaching with it. And I know I'm spending a lot of time on the mentality because the approach is the same. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to give you guys some fancy approach, you know, for recommendations. It's the same approach. You read that thing and it works. But the key is you read that thing with confidence, with the right energy, with the right expectations, you know, and your customers can feel that. They can feel if you expect them to not give you, and they can feel if they expect you to give them to you. So that's the first thing. That's the most important thing, is to have the right mentality on recommendations going into it. And know that, hey, that's the most important part about your job. You got to stress that in the beginning of the presentation. This is the most important part for me, Ms. Jones. This is my fuel to my fire. In fact, I can only see people if I'm recommended to them. I can't even continue the job. The only way I continue to see people like you, Ms. Jones, is if I'm recommended to people like you the same way Ms. Susie recommended me to you. You know, Ms. Jones, so I hope you like me and Coco enough to tell some friends about me. Having the right mentality, right expectations, number one. Second thing is just crushing the approach. Okay, you got to get this thing down. And I'm going to go ahead and give it to you all. I'll go ahead and pull up two things, okay? So y'all are going to get a slightly, keyword here being slightly, okay? I told you guys we'd give you all the goods in this meeting. No one else in your office are going to get these, okay? But if you made the decision to be here, you're going to get the link to this document. And it's just a slightly tweaked up recommendation approach, okay? There's like a couple different words. You still got to get this down verbatim. The more that you get this down, the better off that you're going to be. The more that you get this down, the more recommendations that you're going to get, right? Because if you can have this memorized, you don't actually need to memorize it. Like, you're always going to have it in front of you on the computer. But when you memorize it, okay, what actually happens is you're able to say it more confidently. When you don't have it memorized, right, you stumble on your words, you stutter a little bit, you lose your place. And customers mistake you stumbling on your words or not being able to read very well as a lack of confidence. And that lack of confidence makes them what? Less confident in giving you recommendations. Okay, so you've got to get this down verbatim. Here's how this looks. I'll go ahead and do this for you, okay? So actually, I'll do it for you one more time live, and y'all can tell me if this is a little bit smoother than maybe some things that y'all have been doing on your appointments. So I'll go ahead and show it for you one time live. And this is what you'll be doing from a recommendation approach, okay, from now on. You'll say, let me get Mason Linker. Can you role play with me? You and Ms. Jones?
Yes, I can hear you, Andrew.
All right, awesome. So, Mrs. Jones, how'd you like my demo?
Oh, it was good. It was good.
Great. And do you remember the $150 automatic sponsorship I was telling you about a little bit earlier?
Yeah, from the beginning? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, there's one more very important part. And here's where you could really help me out. So I get paid every time I show Kako, but I can only call people I've been personally recommended to. So what I need you to do is grab your phone, open up your contacts, and let's just jot down like the first 200 to 300 people that come to mind.
200 to 300?
I'm just kidding, Ms. Jones. Just 10 to 20 that might be nice enough to help me out. I'm not necessarily looking for people you think would buy, just nice people like you willing to take a quick look. And the way the sponsorship works is every 50 sponsors I get, Ms. Jones, the company gives me $150 worth of products that I can use to pay for things like books for school and whatnot. So all you have to do to get to a sponsor is give me 10 recommendations. If you get the 20 recommendations, it makes you a double sponsor, and it counts twice towards the sponsorship. So I actually have a sheet open right here. Let me go ahead and pull this up for you. So here's my recommendation sheet, Ms. Jones. And let me see real quickly. Let me pull up your sheet. Let me see. Okay, boom, perfect right here. So we can start off with the names and we'll come back to the phone numbers. Who's like the first person you know that would probably be the best?
Yeah, let's go ahead and add my best friend down the corner. Her name is Susie, and then we could add
Susie, what a great name.
Yeah, right. And then we could add Brooke.
Brooke. Okay, great.
Yeah, Brooke.
Awesome. And by the way, Ms. Jones, again, if you get to the smiley face, you actually come and sponsor. All right, let me stop there for a quick second. So some of y'all, again, it's the same approach that y'all are used to. Couple of different little tweaks here, but what I just did, okay, and I'll just show you guys the sheet now since I've already kind of revealed it. So rather than having, the help me hit my goal, or I don't know what the hell some of y'all do, or just like, oh, I'm just going to write it on like the piece of paper that I found next to my desk, or here's a napkin, Miss Jones. I'll just go ahead and write. Who's the first person you're going to recommend? Okay, and some of y'all are laughing but I know some of y'all have done that. You got like a recommendation on the paper. You're like, I got some of them in your computer notes. You got them everywhere. Okay, so we're not going to use this website anymore. I'm going to give you guys access to this. And this is called, from now on, everyone's going to have a scholarship binder. Okay, this is called your scholarship binder. The document's called Help Me With My Scholarship. And what's going to happen is there's a little bit of social proof. Again, we want to show up with the energy and the vibe that I get 20 or more recommendations on every presentation that I go on, Ms. Jones, right? But it also helps when you can show them that you get 20 or more recommendations on every appointment that you go on. So they're expecting like, hey, no one gives them, it would be weird for me to give them less than 10. The reason a lot of y'all don't get 10 is because most of your customers think it is weird for them to even give you 10. You want to create the opposite vibe of, hey, it would be weird. Like I'm going to be putting this kid out if I give him anything less than 10 recommendations. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and queue this up. I'm like, so I have my document right up here, Miss Jones. And I'll have, what you can do, by the way, is you can go back through some of your old recs. Shoot, if you've never gotten 20 recommendations before, just have mom make a sheet. Mom make a sheet, have grandma make one, type up people, just create a sheet based on some other recommendations or something that you've got in the past. Kind of create something for yourself. But I'm literally doing social proof. So I pull up the first page and I'm like, all right, Miss Jones, so let me find your sheet here. No, this is Miss Susie's. No, this is your friend, Miss Johnson. I think you know Miss Sanders. Perfect. Here's your sheet, Miss Jones. Okay. Who's the first person that you're thinking? We'll start off with the names and then we'll go to the phone numbers at the end. And you just have to ask confidently, assume the sale. A lot of y'all, by the way, are going to do a lot better with this because it's got, smiley faces already at the 10. So it's a lot easier to tell, explain the sponsorship. So you just go, oh, Miss Jones, wait, before we start, can you get to the 10? That's actually when I get the sponsorship. Okay. It will be very, very easy to kind of coach and get the customers to 10 every single time. And what y'all will do is you'll have access to this sheet. So once I send this sheet out, you're just going to go here. You won't be able to edit this. You'll just hit file and make a copy, right? So I'll make a copy of Help Me With My Scholarship. And now this will be your own sheet that you'll have access to. Okay, and you can change this to, don't want to go to YouTube. You can change this to whatever. I can change it to Help Me With My Scholarship, and I can adjust it with my own recommendations. And you'll be able to have tabs of all the recommendations. Someone gives you less than 10, just make sure that they are the very back, okay? And you never click on their pages when you're showing it to customers. Or if someone gives you less than 10, I might even have a separate kind of binder, for people that gave me less than 10. And I just want all the ones here to be, ideally 20 or more, but have at least 10, and they're at least the first level of the sponsorship here. Cool. And you'll put kind of right here who the customer is, how they recommended you. We're also going to give you the recommendation approach. What you'll notice is Florida. Nice. Florida. Okay. What you guys will notice on here, okay, is it's pretty much the exact same approach. The only thing that's different is you explain the sponsorship, and then it says, so I have your sheet open right here. Click tab. Click tab, click tab. Perfect, Miss Jones. Here's your sheet. Who do you think we can put down first? We could start with the names and get back to the phone numbers. Thank you so much for the help. I really appreciate it. Okay, now let's talk about, by the way, so hopefully maybe some group chats, any light bulbs there? I don't want to feel like you're already about to get so many more recommendations than you were getting beforehand. Okay, hopefully that's the case. Here's a couple other tips before we go to break on getting some recommendations. So, you have your recommendation binder now. That's what we just shared. Is your, by the way, not your recommendation binder, your scholarship binder. Hey, Ms. Jones, let me just go over my scholarship binder or my scholarship sheet. And let me go ahead and click through these real quickly. Number one, how do we make sure you get 10 or more every single time? So, every once in a while, by the way, guys, you're not going to get 10 on every single appointment right away. Okay. You want to ideally get 10 or more if you really execute and you're building this up at the beginning and enough. But some people are going to give you 5 or 6, or 7 recommendations when you guys are actually going to this. So here's how you get to 10, or more on every single, presentation that you're doing. Okay. Again, the easiest thing, it's really, really simple. The key to getting 10 on every single appointment that you do is as simple as this right here. Ask again. Okay, ask again. Thank you so much for this, Ms. Jones. I really appreciate it. Oh, is there any way you can get to the smiley face? I actually want to get the sponsorship. It would really help me out. Look, I know a lot of y'all, like there's a lot of y'all that are reading this and being like, Andrew, that doesn't work that well. You know, I don't think that there's no way they'll get me to 10 just because I asked one more time. And y'all are the same people that get less than 10 recommendations on all your appointments. Okay? It is that simple. It is as simple as just ask again. Hey, Ms. Jones. As you're typing, you're like, oh, actually, Ms. Jones, this is as easy as it is. All you go is, hey, actually, Ms. Jones, look, is there any way you can give me that smiley face? Like, that's when I can actually get the sponsorship earlier I was telling you about. It would really help me out. By the way, the reason that works so easy is because, yes, you already explained the sponsorship the first time. But look, when you're explaining the sponsorship, you're already at the very end of the recommendation approach. You're explaining the sponsorship down here. So what is the customer already doing right now? Not listening to you, and they're thinking about, shoot, who am I going to recommend this kid to? Okay? So what you're saying when the first time you explain it, it's going in one ear and out the other. Okay? If you want it, so it's number one, all you're doing is kind of reiterating the sponsorship one more time and just telling Ms. Jones, actually, can you get me that smiley face? That's actually when I get the automatic sponsorship. That would really help me out. Okay? If they gave you 15, you're still saying the exact same thing. You do this literally no matter how many they gave you the first time. I don't care if they gave me 2, I'm going to try to get them to 10. If they gave me 17, I'm going to try to get them to 20. If they gave me 24 or 26, I'm going to try to get them to 30. Okay, so I'm always just trying to get them to that next level. Here's the last few tips that I'll give you guys, and this is going to be on the same document. First 2 tips. You have to do this on every demo, no matter what, is the first 2 steps. Okay, and then unless the customer is like in a super rush, I would always do the last 3 steps, okay, which is qualify your recommendations. A lot of y'all have been getting recommendations, and you don't even know who you're calling. They're just random people on a sheet of paper. Okay, I don't want to call people like that. What if some of them are amazing and some of them suck? Do I want to book appointments with the best customers, not the worst customers that they recommend me to? So one thing that's very, very easy is you just want to ask them some qualifying questions. And that's why there's a little note section. I'll put little symbols there. So the first thing I can say is, Ms. Jones, by the way, on this, so after I've gotten all the names and phone numbers, I'll go, by the way, Ms. Jones, on this list, like, who on here, like, loves to cook? Ms. Jones, who, like, loves to cook a ton? Awesome. And I'll put a little heart for, like, loves to cook. Right, Ms. Jones? Next thing, who in this list, Ms. Jones, is, like, super nice? Like, they might not buy a lot from me, but, like, they're, like, just they're really, really nice. Great. And I'll go through and put a smiley face, next to those people. This person's, super nice. Okay. Then who in this list, Ms. Jones, likes to get nice things? What's a good way of asking your customers who's the richest people on the list? Who's the most affluent? Who's the wealthiest people on the, without actually saying that? It's like, by the way, Ms. Jones, who on this list likes to get like the nicest quality things to their kitchen and the house? They like nice stuff. All right, great. I'll put a little money sign next to those people. Cool. Ms. Jones, who has the biggest family? Right. And I'll qualify those. Right. And I'll put the family can be C for CASA. And then if your kids start working Cutco, who would you see first? And I'll usually just go through and like bold those recommendations, right? Or highlight them. And those are my top customers. By the way, guys, this is helpful because your best customers, the ones you want to focus on, are the people that love to cook, have a big family, are super nice, and they like the nicest quality things for their kitchen or home. Those are the people you want to be seeing. Imagine if that was every single one of your appointments that you did. Every single appointment you did is with someone that loves to cook. They've got a big family. They only like nice stuff for their home, and they're super nice. Okay, how much more fun would the job be if that was every presentation that you had booked up? And you can only do that if you're actually qualifying your recommendations. Last 2 T's, okay? These are small but huge. Small but huge, okay? I'm going to talk about social media in a second. Getting the customers to get a heads up, yes. I would do this on every appointment unless the customer is like telling me they have to get off and they cannot spend any more time. I always send them the heads up text message. Okay, so I would be sending them, again, you want your customers, you don't want to be cold calling through 20 people. Ideally in your phone jams, guys, the more that you can set yourself up for success, the better. When they already have a text heads up that I'm calling, it's way easier. When they have a text heads up, I was like, hey, Miss Jones, my name's Andrew. I'm actually a friend of Miss Susie. She goes, oh, yeah, she told me you're going to be calling. Like, hey, how are you? Good. I'm like, yeah, Miss Jones, she told you a little bit about what I'm working on. Great. Yeah, I just started this great new job. Okay. And it's easier to just go into the presentation versus like, they're like, wait a second, who is this? You're friends with who? She gave you my number? You know, like that kind of thing. It's a lot different when the customers actually give their friends a heads up. You know, here's one key with this. Okay. Don't ask, tell. Don't ask them to send a message. Tell them to send a message. As if, again, it's part of the process. Okay. The only people that have trouble getting customers to send a heads up are the ones that make the customers feel weird sending the heads up. You know, if you just make it seem like, hey, this is the still part of the recommendation process, I'm not going to call your friends out of the blue. Why would I do that? You know, they're like, oh, okay, cool. Let me just go ahead and send this text then. So one big key is you just send the text already. Like I would already have a text sent. This is like the last two keys that I'll give you guys before I wrap up. Have a text sent to them and then tell them to go ahead and send it out. Hey, Ms. Jones, by the way, thank you so much for these recommendations. I actually just sent a text to your phone. Go ahead and copy and paste that, forward that out to the people that you just put down on the sheet. That way, you know, I don't catch any of your friends like out of the blue. Right? Hey, Michelle, I just went ahead and sent you a text to your phone. Can you go ahead and send that out to your friends real quick that you just put down their sheet? That way I don't catch any of them off guard. Right? So you already send it versus like, by the way, I do have a text. Would you mind? Could you maybe send this out to some of those people? Don't ask like that. Okay? You're making them seem like, oh, this is like a little extra thing too. If you could help me out, it'd be cool. It's like, oh man, no, I just sent you a text heads up. Go ahead and just copy and paste that to the people you just recommended. That way I don't catch any of your friends out of blue. Or I don't catch any of them off guard. Last step is social media. Okay, I'm telling you all right now, a lot of you guys are going to be doing more appointments than you've ever done in your career during the SC2 push. If you are not doing social media, you will be losing out on a lot of sales. If you're not having your customers post up on Facebook, you're losing out on a ton of sales. Okay, there's going to be people that are doing Facebook are going to sell $2 or $3 grand over Facebook this week, like over during the push. A lot of y'all, that might be the $2 or $3 grand that you needed to hit your goal. You know, just because you didn't want to ask customers to post on Facebook. First off, you have to understand, adults, guys, they don't use social media like we do. Okay, that moms are not like worried about their personal brand or personal image on Instagram or things like that. They Facebook, they don't even know what they're sharing half the time. They just like they don't even know what they're liking. You guys know what I'm saying. You've seen adults on Facebook. Half the time they're like commenting on like a photo of you that like you guys ever had a parent do that where like someone else posted on your page and they're like, oh, happy birthday, blah, blah, it's so good to see you. It's like, this is like you're posting the wrong spot, grandma. You know, like, but they don't care. Okay. Like most of your customers, 99%, if you just ask them, they'll post it. They could give a crap less. So like, sure, I'll post it, you know, copy and paste. In fact, asking them to post on Facebook is usually less intrusive than giving them recommendations, you know? So I would do this because two things, it will generate more appointments for you and it will generate some just kind of passive sales. You know, when you do 40 appointments and you have 40 people post on Facebook, they're advertising to like, you know, 100, 200 different people in their networks, right? You're talking about over the push advertising to 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 people, right? A lot of those people are going to already own Cutco. A lot of them aren't even going to do an appointment with you. They're just going to see, oh, my friend has someone in the Cutco rep. Actually, yeah, I need to get 8 steak knives. Could they help me out with that? Cool. And you're in the phone jams and you're getting hit up on Facebook, you know, to turn in another $600 order, another $1,000 order. Okay. And those things add up, you know, over time. There's a guy, Mike Dawood. He's crushed Facebook. He's got his whole Facebook is for selling Cutco. And like the dude can make a Facebook post. He literally posts on Facebook and he'll sell like $8 grand. He doesn't do it all the time because he wants to do it at the right times. Like, but when he's in a push competition, he's like, hey, I'm 10 grand away from my goal. Who can help me out? Boom, 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 boom. People are just commenting on his Facebook buying Cutco from him. It's incredible. Okay. You're in the 21st century. Okay. If you're not using social media to help you make money, you're behind the times. You know, you're missing out. I would learn and get on top of this too. Most of y'all don't even use Facebook at all. So I would convert your Facebook into a money-making machine for you over the next month in the push and be friend requesting your customers, be setting that up in the right ways so that you can actually do that. So those are the 5 keys. We're going to send out the 2 different spots here. I'll go ahead and send it to the United leadership team one more time so y'all can send out these 2 documents. And just as one more friendly reminder, let me post this in here one more time. Okay. One more friendly reminder. Okay. There's 5 steps. Ask for the recommendations. Ask again. Qualify them. Get the customers, shoot them a text heads up, and then, you know, go ahead and ask them to throw something up on Facebook. And the approach is right there, and the posts that they can use are right down here. You can change those out. To edit this document, which everyone has now, you're just going to go to File, make a copy, and you'll have your own that you can edit and access now and store all of your customers on. That's it, guys. Go out there, get a lot of recommendations, fuel your fire, make sure you have 250 recs before the push starts. You're going to have an awesome push performance.
Okay, guys, real quick, take 30 seconds. And managers, we need to manage here the break. Anyone that's a rep, please take 30 seconds. Let's put some light bulbs down before we go to break. And then we're going to come back with the grand finale of our conference here, our division meeting. We're going to talk about how to get more appointments from Mike Abramowitz and some phone tips. Luke Maseko is going to talk about Leadership Academy. And then Andrew's going to wrap up with the main event, how to get invited and how to get to the summer conference too. Okay, so take another 15 seconds, write down a few light bulbs. And again, all the documents that I covered and that Andrew has covered will be sent out in one. In fact, your managers already have them. So rest assured that it'll all get out to you. Okay, another 10 seconds, write down some light bulbs. It is now 1:12, everyone. At 1.